Victor the Voice Furman.
We are Second Sight Radio.
And we're airing live from New York City for the next 2 hours. Just so everyone knows, we have a guest co-host here on Second Sight, which is pretty much a first. I mean, it's not something we normally do, but we do have a reason for it. And our guest co-host is River Wildfire Moon. And how you doing, River?
I'm very good, thank you. Hi. Very happy to be here.
Well, you're all listening to DTMWickedRadio.com, which is where you can listen to us and be in our chat room. But if you want to watch us, you are watching us on TeslaWolfMedia.com. Look for where it says free stream and click it, and you'll be able to see our show live, which is pretty friggin' cool. And what I want to know, this is our first live show for Second Sight on internet television, so we're really, really excited to be part of Tesla Wolf Media. We have a show, a Paranormal Lounge, that is already on Tesla Wolf Media, but this is our first Second Sight show. I'm very, very proud to announce that. Victor, I know you have a very, very special announcement to make before I go on.
Chris, we saw different shows together, Chris. Is that amazing? Is that amazing?
That's amazing. Are these the flowers you sent me?
Yes, they are. Those are the flowers I sent you. And do you know that our relationship is longer than my first and second marriage? Did you know that?
That's pretty freaking cool.
That's right. That's right.
But, no, man, I'm really happy because, you know, if you think about it, Victor, when you became my co-host, it was kind of at a crossroads for me because I had a co-host, and then that didn't work out, so I was doing the show by myself. I did, I think, 3 or 4 shows by myself as the host of Second Sight, and I said, you know what? I need a co-host because I don't like doing this by myself. I like bouncing things off each other and whatever, and...
Wait a minute.
Not bouncing back.
That doesn't sound right, my friend. That does not sound right.
Take it easy, Victor. But I figured, you know, and I asked you if you was, you know, hosting me, and you jumped at the opportunity, and here it is 100 shows later. It's only getting better. We started out, you know, where we were, and now look where we are now. You know, now on 2 networks, on internet television. It's a blessing. Don't get crazy.
Actually, Chris, you know what? I don't consider you a friend. I consider you a brother, and I think we all like brothers. And I really enjoy the relationship that we have in that way, and that we can rely upon each other and help each other. And I think we've grown together quite a bit in the 2 years that we've been doing these shows, and
absolutely
really happy about it. And also, I just want to say that for our listeners who are first joining us, on our former network, we actually came close to 1 million listeners. 1 million listeners, which is amazing for us. So we're hoping to come very close to that on this show. In fact, our new hosts, DPM Wicked, Denny and Tiff, are telling us that every time we go on, 15 minutes before we actually go on airtime, we're pegging their meter, which means we're maxing out all their servers. So I think a lot of those 900,000 plus listeners are joining us on DTM, and are now joining us on Tesla Wolf Media and seeing what our beautiful faces look like for the first time.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Victor. Beautiful, I would not call us. I mean, you have that distinguished, handsome look. I kind of have that, you see, I'm going a little, I got like a 5 o'clock shadow going here. I got that rugged, Italian, New York thing going on. I don't want people to think I'm like this like crazy New Yorker. Look at my eyes. I'm slow. I'm loving this, you know? And I do this because of one reason. I'm gonna put Joyce and Jack on trial right now. Now, Joyce and Jack Keller are our guests tonight. But what I want to say is, and then Victor will give them a proper introduction. But when I first met Joyce and Jack, I did this show, and maybe that's the 4th or 5th time I was on this show, and Joyce made the comment, that just, I mean, really, I got so many inboxes and emails and phone calls, making fun of me for what they said. And what they said was, if you've never seen Chris George's eyes, it's the color of the ocean when it meets the sky. That's the color of Chris George's eyes. And then Jack says, Chris George is the Leonardo da Vinci. I don't know. People keep giving me nicknames. I've been called the Godfather of Psychic Mediums. I've been called, what's the other one they call me? Oh, the Mystic Stefano. I've been called Chaos. All these crazy things.
And you've been called the Bully of Valleys, also, Chris.
Yes, I have been called the Bully of Valleys, and I have not seen a naked man that I can't give a piece of my mind to. Anyway, that being said, let me get on with this. Victor, I don't know what the new calling number for this show is. Do you have it?
The calling number for this show, and we can't do any call-ins tonight because we're maxed out on our we'll take call-ins next time.
Okay, no.
We're really too tight for call-ins tonight.
Well, anyway, we have a great agenda as always. We have a Gemstone of the Week. We have a Church of Second Sight, which I haven't even put together yet. Victor, do you have a church?
Actually, I do. I have a Church of Second Sight.
Okay, beautiful. Victor has a Church of Second Sight. And what is that? We got a birthday readings and famous birthday. So if you want to like my fan page, I'm Psychic News, Chris George. Victor's fan page is Victor the Voice Fireman. Like the people. I mean, listen, it's pretty freaking cool. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. We're as cool as it gets. And what I would suggest you guys do is join our group page on Facebook, which is Second Sight. And we put a lot of those cool things up there, and you guys should join the page. All right. Famous birthdays. Let me get on with this. We have a lot to talk about. It's full of shit. If there's no way I look like Rodney Dangerfield, all right? I mean, I got a little bit more respect than him. Anyway, my fork for the week is when you come to a fork in the road and you don't like either direction, make your own friggin' path, people. Listen, I'm one ball. Go for it. That's all I'm going to say. Victor, why don't you introduce our guest for this week?
Well, before I do that, I just want to say that, as we said, our very special guest co-host tonight is River Wildfire Moon. And River and Chris have a new show, also on BTN Wicked Radio, and also on Tesla Wolf Media in the video streaming. That's Friday nights from 10 to midnight, and it's called The Paranormal Lounge. And River, why don't you take a couple of seconds and just tell people what they can expect in the Paranormal Lounge?
Victor, the Paranormal Lounge is just fun. It's a place where you just come back, you sit back, you relax, you talk about interesting subjects, you've got interesting people, and everybody gets to relate to everybody. You have a drink with your friends, and you come every week, and you just have a great time, and that's what we want the lounge to be for everybody who joins on Friday.
And with Victor's voice, the women come again, and
Listen, all I'm going to say is, Chris, my wife is listening. Be very careful what you say, my friend. Don't get me in trouble.
No, I won't get you in trouble, but I'm going to say this. Listen, you know I'm not gay. I am a man's man. I have a beautiful girlfriend, but it's all like it takes for me not getting excited to listen to your voice. I mean, that's for another show, but anyway, let's introduce our guest, Victor.
So tonight we have the distinct pleasure, honor, and just the wonderful energy of Joyce Keller and her husband, Jack Keller. Joyce is an internationally known visionary, author, television and radio host, media personality, author of 6 best-selling books which are sold internationally. Joyce has been a columnist for Lifetime Television, is a certified hypnotherapist who has safely and successfully led thousands of people overcome weight problems and many other human difficulties. She's been honored, inspected, intuitive counselor, healer, lecturer, and hypnotist, and she is also the host of America's longest-running intuitive advice show, The Joyce Keller Show, which has been on the air since 1987. And I have something else to share, Joyce, before we get into your interview. It turns out that, and I forgot, we had actually talked about this the night Chris and I were over at your home. We all come from the Borough Park section of Brooklyn, New York. Now, it's very unusual that 3 psychics would come from the Borough Park section of Brooklyn, New York. Now, today, the Borough Park section of Brooklyn, New York has the largest enclave of Orthodox and Hasidic Jews outside of Israel. But at the time we were growing up, the neighborhood was very diverse, with Jews of various degrees and observance, Catholics and Protestants. And it turns out that Joyce, Chris, and I all had families that belonged to religious institutions on the same block. And not only that, and I did my research on this person, it turns out that as a young girl, Joyce attended my circumcision ceremony. Wait. And as a young teen, she attended your circumcision ceremony. Today, she lovingly refers to these as the long and short of it, Chris. In other words, the long and short of it.
People, you think it's easy, you think it's easy. Look, the funny thing is, everybody thinks I'm the crazy one. But when it comes down to it, it's you. And everybody who knows the two of us knows it's you.
Lovely introduction. I have to say one thing, though. When I was growing up, it was not diverse. I'm getting feedback, but that's okay. I don't care. It was not diverse this year. It was strictly a freedom, wall to wall. And my father moved in with a Christmas tree and decided that they should have a little touch of Christianity and it's totally orthodox. I sort of hated it. So I grew up in a very bizarre situation. And they said, what?
38th Street between 13th and 14th Avenue.
Quick story before we get into the interview. My father, as a boy, he grew up in Borough Park. He was actually born in Borough Park. He used to be a Brooklyn Doctor's Hospital on 15th Avenue and 45th Street.
I remember that so well.
That's where he was born. He was born in 1912. I know you don't know that part, but he was born in 1912, and when he was a young boy, there was a chicken place on the corner of 38th Street and 13th Avenue, and the first job he had, he was 11 years old. Joyce and Jack understand he was a chicken flicker. You know what a chicken flicker is?
I remember the sawdust on the floor.
That's right. A chicken flicker was the person who would remove the feathers from the chicken. That was my father's first job.
That's a classic job.
You know, Jim, my own jobs, too. Well, not at a job. I mean, everyone moved out to Deer Park, Long Island. My father was born in a farm in Canada, and so we planted things, potatoes and other things, chickens, and actually I had to kill them. Another.
Jack, I understand. My father was a chicken flicker, but I understand that you were a pheasant plucker. Is that true?
Yeah, something like that, right.
Well, Jack will tell you, if you ask him nicely, he'll tell you how to kill chickens. Ask him nicely. He'll tell you how he twisted the heads off.
Well, I know too many folks who know how to choke the chickens, but that's another one. I just want to let people know one thing. I don't know if you guys noticed about Joyce, but Joyce has been around a while, and she's not only is she an amazing person and a great friend, she really is truly an amazing psychic. And she has been on the psychic radio show anywhere. What a lot of people don't realize is that there is the top television psychics out there. They always got their start with Joyce. They were all on full radio shows back in the day. And I feel really old. So how much better makes you feel old? I'm trying to give you your thoughts.
I'm going to know this Victor.
No.
Oh,
yeah. I just think that, people should know that because, that his star on your show, Grand Claude on your show, what was the name? The one that passed away. That'll put me on the spot. We have a whole bunch of questions here for you, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Now, you're giving all these famous, quote-unquote, famous psychics, one better than others, their stars. All right? In your opinion, who do you think is the best of the bunch, out of them? I'm curious to know. I know who I think is the best out of them.
Most of them are dead. That kind of helps a lot.
I'm talking about
the living one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what you mean by good.
Well, your definition of good.
Let's go with honest.
Okay.
That's a good start.
So who is it?
Let's say, I think that Van Claude tries, and he comes close to being honest. But the other one, you can forget it. As a matter of fact, your cousin, whose show remained nameless, was on my show. I think the first time he did television, he was so young that he had this. Right. And, this was, I think, Cablevision on Long Island. And when I reminded him about this a few years ago, and I said, hey, he's nameless, I said, do you remember when we were standing outside in the parking lot after the show? And I said to you, nameless, you're going to have a fantastic future doing psychic readings. And I gave him a read in the parking lot after he did my show a couple of times, by the way. He recently said he had no memory of any of that. He didn't even know who I was.
Unbelievable. Well, you know what? It's like, it is like, some people
came very famous, by the way.
Yeah, well, he did. Yes.
I've been a long-time member of the Queens, New York Psychic Club.
My father's wrong.
And John was there. Way back. Well, I didn't say his last name. I didn't say his last name.
You just say his name. It's not Edward. That couldn't kill us.
He was there way back when before he became famous. And he was a really good reader way back when.
He was pretty good.
Can I ask you a question, Joyce? Is there a resting period after death before a marriage?
I discussed briefly. My sister came to me within 24 hours at the time after she passed away, and I started to greet her, and I was immediately stopped. A big hand came up and they said, "No, it's so soon." So I just stood for brother. I couldn't even possibly answer it. The other one can.
Let me just interject for a second. The feedback is actually coming through Jack, so Jack has to turn his audio down and put headphones in.
My wife.
Just turn it down.
I
really have no idea what anyone is saying, especially me. Which is actually
you're better now.
Well, Joyce, I'll follow up on that. You said that it's different for everybody. That's an absolute fact. I remember doing a seance years ago, and I channeled this little girl, who died minutes before I started doing my seance. Okay? And we didn't know it at the time. She came through and she said, "Yes, I just passed away." And she was, I knew that. She was very young. And they gave her a name and everything. And she told us her name. And she had 3 names. And the first name, the middle name, and the last name. And I remember, after this seance, everybody went to the computer trying to put this girl, but she had just died. They couldn't find her. All right? That was on a Friday night. On Monday, my niece at the time, I was married, and this is my ex-wife's niece, she called me and said, "Uncle Chris, you're not going to believe this. There's an obituary. We started the seance at 8 o'clock at night. She died 6 o'clock the same night on Friday. And she came through 2 hours after she died. Quickly. Now, on the other hand, my mom's dad was very close to her. I tried many times to connect with her. And I consider myself really good at what I do. And I've never, ever once been able to connect with her.
Well, for this young girl who just crossed off because she got it right away, it's so amazing and terrific. That's with your power as well, your ability to tune in. But I think a lot of them treat for a long time after. They're so traumatized, or they're getting over the earth experience. It's so different for everyone. And that's the only thing I can say about that.
Well, I have a share on that, actually, follow-up share. When my former partner, Judy, the day she passed, I made the funeral. She was very young. She was only 46 at the time. She died from complications of breast cancer, which went to her brain. And when she passed that day, I prepared. I contacted the funeral director to take her and made other preparations. And I was laying down, and I decided to take a half leg, and I was very stressed out. I'm obviously very, very in a state of grieving. And at the time, we had 2 cats. And these 2 cats would never stay in the same room together. And this is about 4 hours after she passed. And these 2 cats came into the room and jumped on the bed and sat down before me like 2 little sphinxes looking at me, and I was looking at them. And as I'm laying there, all of a sudden their gaze goes up to the doorway behind us, up to the ceiling, and down to my back. And with their other hands massaging my back. And I knew this her way of telling me, "I'm okay, I love you." It was a beautiful share. And so in terms of waiting period, that was 4 hours that she had.
Well, that was a great, great blessing, really.
That was a blessing.
I have a question for all of you. I was telling Joyce, this evening I was speaking with her before we went on the air, and I was telling her how when my dad passed, 5 years ago, he came to me right away, immediately. I mean, he passed while I was doing a 3-day seminar where people came from all over to be with me, and he passed while I was there. And he came to me immediately. After a year, he would come to me, and we would go talk to each other, sit on the bench, and watch the way he's screaming, because that's what he used to love to do. And we would sit there and talk to each other. I'd be talking to somebody who wasn't there. He used to walk by. That must have thought I was crazy, but I didn't care. That was my dad. And then we'd go into the car in the parking lot, and we listen to CBS FM. And what do you think that is? What do you think is here at the beginning, stopped for 3 years, and then started coming back again now?
I'm going to turn that question back around to you. What happened when you returned this time? What were you in need of? Because he was your biggest fan, your biggest cheerleader, and you went through a very tough period of time.
Correct.
Why did he come back?
I think he came back to let me know that things were going to be okay.
Okay.
And, the 3 years he stopped coming was actually 3 very crazy years for me. I was in a relationship that was really bad. Not my wife, but my ex-wife. It's a really bad relationship where I was pretty much abused verbally, by this person. And I started to start coming. I was thinking myself, why didn't you come at that time? And when I was telling Joyce, I think she wanted me to figure it out on my own. And me being, a testator, which is hard-headed in Italian, it took me 3 years to come to the conclusion that everyone around me knew was inevitable. Everyone knew this. So, I think once they made a decision and he came back, I think that's why he came back, to let me know that, because you made a good decision, and now let me help you get to where you need to be. And I think you want to say something?
I just remember when you and I were first getting together and we were discussing the radio shows and working together, the repetitive energy that I kept channeling from you and the conversations that could keep going on between us and things that were playing out that hadn't even happened yet. And there was a time where I heard and made reference to that exact thing that you say your dad says about you all the time. And I mentioned it to you casually. I said, Chris, it's like you got this controlled chaos. And in that moment, you were like, my dad said that all the time.
Yeah, and I'm going to share something with you. That was the moment I knew that you were going to be my co-host on Phone Lounge. Because that was something very specific to my father. And that's not something people would just come out and say, control.
Yeah.
And he used to come in, as a kid, I used to play baseball. I had all this crazy energy in football. I had all this crazy energy, but I was always in control of it. And that's what he used to tell me. I was controlled playoff. So that's what I would say to that.
No, but really,
I think there's all different kinds, and we're working. I'm excited, actually. Excuse me. I'm very excited to work with Chris and with Vic. I think there's a lot of knowledge here, and I'm really hoping to absorb some of that energy and find a new way. More ways, new ways, all of it.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, you're listening to Second Sight Radio on the BTN Wicked Radio Network and video simulcast on TeslaWolfMedia.com. TeslaWolfMedia.com. Joyce, let's get back to your question here. We see people go to mediums and they want to hear from specific people on the other side, and sometimes they come through, sometimes they don't. Can all spirits communicate from the other side in your experience?
I don't think so. I think some of them still don't believe, and then they're still going through the growth process. They're still going through the steps of growing in the light on the other side. And it continues, it takes them hundreds of years or like 1 second because there is no time. I think the answer would be, can all spirits communicate? That was the question?
Yes.
Can all spirits communicate? They're capable of it. Do they do it? No. Like Chris said before, there are some that simply don't come through. In the case of my mother, I saw her once after she passed. She said, look, I can walk again. She was so excited, so happy, so young, so beautiful. She ran over the hill, and I didn't hear from her again for like 10 years after. Whereas with my dad, he's very interactive with me, very hands-on. And he was very much like that when he was here with us. So I think my mother was always doing her own thing and very, very busy. So I think a lot of the personality does carry through. I mean, have you all found that to be true with the communication? It's pretty much the same. I don't see a lot of change with any of these people.
Yes, we had a psychic on our show one time. Actually, I think she won a couple times. And she was also in the running to be one of my co-hosts on the Paranormal. but I dropped that really quickly. You know, she said to us that she could channel any spirit at any time, and I called bullshit in a nice way. You know, I didn't want to tell her she was full of crap.
You're very tactful, I have to say. I mean, you feel a lot of odd people. Well, you're right. You're right.
You know what I think? You know what they're saying, what would Jesus do? I think to myself, what would Victor say? So,
well, thanks, Chris. Put on that pedestal. That's very nice, Chris.
You know, and the thing is, you know, I didn't want to be disrespectful to this woman, but I knew she was full of crap. I don't know if our audience knew she was full of crap or not, but I do, and I know Victor knew. It just, I mean, what do you think about it? Could you imagine somebody?
I know.
I don't think you know, huh? But I'll tell you off the air.
People I don't know.
I'll tell you off the air. But, you know, she made it sound like she was so far superior to any psychic in the world by making that statement that I'm thinking to myself, how come you're not on television? How come, you know, you're not, you know, going all over the world if you can channel any spirit in the world? And, you know, I kind of took it as a little thumbing of the nose to myself and to Victor. But I don't know what you think about that. I know you had a follow-up question, but maybe you want to just follow up on that.
I can't. I'm sorry?
It's not possible to channel anyone, anytime, anywhere, anyhow. It's very controlled. It's regulated. Sometimes it's just not possible. So she's really what Chris said.
I would share Joyce's opinion and your opinion. That's been my experience too. But by the same token, I don't know what she does or how she does it. So without being with her and experiencing that, I wouldn't want to criticize because I just don't know. You know, I speak from my experience. You speak from your experience. Joyce speaks from hers. You're from hers. And without having the objective experience of being with her and experiencing what she does, I really couldn't make comment. But the follow-up that I wanted to make was we were talking about the spirit, how fast the spirit communicated after transition. And my favorite story, and the story that I've shared many times in Second Sight, is how I first knew about the survivability of the soul after death. And that's when I was 7 years old, and I was very close with my paternal grandfather, very close to him. And I was in my parents' apartment in Brooklyn, Bar Park, and he appeared to me in my room. And he smiled. And he lingered for a few seconds and disappeared. And I went inside and I said to my parents, Grandpa was just here. And I said, oh, you're imagining things. And that's when the phone rang in my room that he said, the grandfather hasn't passed. So that's a matter of minutes. You have a follow-up also?
I was going to say, just that Chris talking about individuals that always, you know, there's people out there that run and they think they have the answer to everything. And I've always wondered, you know, and I go, I've been doing what I do for a very long time. And it took a lot of, not only just something that was inherent inside of me, but, I mean, the amount of spiritual work and dedication that it takes on a constant basis. And I think to myself, when these people talk in absolutes all the time, I can't wrap my mind around that. I can't wrap my mind around something that's a constant all the time on. Yeah. I just don't understand. I can't function that way.
I have a question for all of you, if I may. Does it seem to all of you that psychics and mediums are coming out of the woodwork now?
Yeah, everybody wants to be psychic. Everybody thinks to be psychic. I think got a little picture of me and my girl up there. I know she's walking around.
Hi, Chrissy.
Hi. We miss you. Yeah, it seems to me, like in the last 5 years, I receive so many emails every day, so many texts, so much mail from people who are ostensibly psychics and mediums, and they're going to do the messages. And I'm wondering how the public is able to discern, and do they really fall for this? Is there any legitimacy? For me, there are very few people who have actually impressed me over the years. The list is very short, maybe I'm thinking maybe 2 people, and I know absolutely everyone almost. And so I'm just wondering what you all feel is going on. Why is there such an influx of these so-called psychics and mediums
Well, I think there's two answers to that question from my perspective. Number one, we have a lot of people who have been turned on by the possibility of fame through people like John Edwards, through people like Von Krog, and some of the very others. And so on the radio train, just as there's so many, before those comments hit television, how many paranormal teams, real paranormal teams, really existed? Not many. As soon as those things, I said everybody was a paranormal investigator. So that's one aspect. The other aspect that I'm looking from is there was a generation that was born in the late 90s or 90s and early 2000s, and that generation, which is coming of age now, is the indigo generation. There are a lot of young people who are born open. And I believe that that's what we're experiencing right now. And there's a reason for it. This world is in trouble. And we're going to need the energy of people like that to change it.
I want to take this in a little bit of a different direction. What about the people that see that there's so many people out there looking for angels, and they're charlatans, and then they're good at reading people's body languages, and all of a sudden they're psychic, and they're using it as a thing and as a scam to make money off of people, and they're lying to them. I see that so much, Victor.
That's basically what I said in the first point, is that these people see psychics and they jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So how do people know real from the unreal, or the fraudulent charlatans? First of all, what you said so interesting, Chris, about reading body language. I do a lot of, most of my readings are done either in trance or by email, so I don't even see the people.
Right.
So I think it's very, very, also when I did in-person readings, which I'm not doing at this moment, but I started the readings before they got there, and I know you can do this too, and you do this. Yeah. I started a tape recorder running half an hour before I got there. I did a whole reading. And then when they arrived, I said, okay, now listen to it. So I couldn't say, well, you saw it, I was wearing such and such, you're doing whatever.
That's really good. That's impressive, too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I did that for years. And so then I said at the end of the reading, I went and had coffee. God knows what I did. I'd probably take a shower or something. But when we finished, write down your questions, if there are any, and then we'll continue reading another however long it takes. And I did that for years and years. And I think that's how you prove the freedom. Also, pardon me for patting myself on the back again, but I have to once in a while, otherwise I become very depressed. I have to, other people who do radio shows, like you do, and like I do, you can't use body language. You can't use anything. I ask the people if they want to give me a birthday or something, and I know you do this too, Chris. I prefer, I don't care about the name, because I'll have 5 Warrens in one show and 2 Chrissy's. So that doesn't help me at all. So I tell them, change the name, give me a birthday with something. Give me something. And that's how we survive. And we do not have an easy life, by the way. We have challenges every step of the way. And people are out to say, prove this to me. And I really respect that. I love that about folks. In fact, they're saying, prove this to me.
I like it.
You don't like it?
I don't like it at all, and I won't do it.
I don't like it, but I do it.
When I first started doing, I don't respect it. It pisses me off, but I'm going to tell you why. When I first started this, I felt like I had to prove myself. When people were like, oh, you're psychic, will show me. And I did. And then I got to the point where I said, you know what? I'm really good at what I do. I shouldn't have to. I'm not secure. It's not a security. And when people tell me to prove it, I'll tell them, listen, go to $1 farm I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy for you, because I'm not going to prove anything. You want a reading, I'll give you a reading, but don't put me on the display like I have to prove it. I feel like you like that.
Why don't you answer Joyce's question, then I have one more follow-up.
I'm sorry.
How do you tell the difference between the charlatans and the real deal?
Well, I'm on this side of the fence, not that side, but I do have readings, but I only go to individuals I trust and know that have, over time, you see the validations, you make the connection, and you just know that there is no way to dispel the information you're getting. And I think it's energy, and I think it's a knowing, and people have to learn to trust themselves. Things sit on your skin. The truth lingers. Stuff like that. You got to pay attention to what you're getting, and look for the rate of the information. That's really all I can say. Just trial and error. You've got to keep looking.
And my answer would be, if someone keeps asking you a series of directed questions prior to the reading, they're doing a cold read. They're not genuine. If somebody has to ask you...
any question. No questions allowed.
Well, you can say, some way of connecting to the energy, but not directed questions that will elicit answers that will give them material that they can feed back to. And that's what cold reading is about. So that's one way of telling. And the other thing is, someone tells you that you have a curse on you, and that in order to lift that curse, you have to bring 3 hard-boiled eggs and $900 to them in the graveyard at midnight. Don't walk away. Run away.
And
That happened to me once when I was a young lady.
I love that.
A woman found me at a gas station, and she told me I had to place something under my bed for several days, or I was going to be in much trouble. I called my mother on the phone. I'm like, Mom, she said, you don't believe in curses. What's wrong with you?
You were young and your mother's smart.
Well, excuse me, you said you were a young lady. That was yesterday, right?
Oh, she's really, I'm going to get very sick and die from me. So she looked in the car, and so she's amazing. I don't know what her name is. Remember? Okay, thank you. I actually haven't been feeling great, which is a lie. I feel perfect. But I called them all, and I really, it's when giving out cards. I'm minding my own business, having a milkshake in the Newport Mall refreshment area, and she's telling me I'm going to die. We really can't allow this, because I'm smart enough to know that she's a fraud and a phony, and this shouldn't happen when someone's minding their own business having a burger. Okay? So send to the mall cops out there and don't allow this BS to continue. It's a nice mall, except for her. So they said they would go after her right away, and I didn't see her after that. But that is so deeply offensive. But we're not...
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, I was just Jack, and I said, Jack, do I look like I have a curse on me? Why did she come over just to me? I was starting to wonder. I was just wondering,
I thought you were a mark.
Well, you don't look stupid, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what she said.
Wait a minute. There you go. No.
The woman was a charlatan. She was snapped her head, and you know what? We got a psychic that came to the psychic party, and he was giving everybody readings, and everybody was like, you know what? There's something that's not right about him. I'm like, you know what? I'm not one to get readings from his psychic. I'm going in. And I went in there, and as soon as I got out, I knew he was bored. I knew he was bored immediately. And he started reading me, and everything he said was wrong. I told him, no, I'm sorry, you're off. I said, but may I read you? And then I gave him a half-hour reading. He's like, what am I doing here? I said, exactly, what are you doing here? I gave him his money, and I walked out.
You paid him. I gave him a raise. Oh, that's terrific.
I gave it to him because he was putting the effort. He was full of shit. He put out some energy, and, I paid him. Yes, I did pay him. But I told everybody else, you guys afford, don't waste your money.
One thing that people think that only people who are uneducated or poor are vulnerable. But I can tell you a quick story about a couple that lived that actually were building their dream home in a very affluent neighborhood in Connecticut. And put a lot of money into it. And they started having a lot of problems. Contractors started quitting on them, and there were issues building. And it turned out that someone told them that they had some kind of paranormal activity in the house, and they believed it, rather than face what was actually going on. And so they called in a psychic, and this woman came in. She charged them $900 cash up front. Went to the house. Listen to this. Spent 15 minutes in the house. Came down and told this couple that they had built the home on land that had belonged to a Native American chief, that he resented the fact that they built it on his land, and that he was going to kill them, and then walked out the door.
And she charged $900.
$900.
I know what you're talking about. You can have a great reputation.
In any event, long story short, there was nothing paranormal. There was nothing there. The problem was the way the building was being managed, basically, by the wife. She was a construction manager. And rather than hire an owner's representative to handle the contractors, she was doing it herself and making them absolutely miserable. And consequently, they would quit. They'd have to hire new contractors, and they'd have to pay more money to undo the work that she didn't like. And this went on and on and on. And more so, the couple was actually attacking each other because of the struggle with the money that was taking place, where this was supposed to be their 25-year dream home that they were building. Investigated people who fell for a psychic. A fraudulent psychic.
Victor, do you think that in our lifetime of all of us,
It's real.
I'm so sorry about it. In our lifetime, that this will ever be changed, or will be a turnaround of acknowledging fraud versus reality? Is that ever going to happen? Can you look forward to that?
Well, it's very interesting. The Brooklyn District Attorney, the Queens District Attorney. Actually, I can't go there with this story. This is. I'll tell you this one. I'll tell you this one offline because it's a really interesting story. But will there ever be a time association? If there was a willingness to create an association where people were vetted and tested and then certified by that association, that would be another story. But until something like that happens, it's let the buyer beware.
Vetted and tested. And this is what I'm expecting a lot. When I know that Duke University did that for years, and I think there were some other universities that have done studies also, but I think it seems very dicey. And I was like,
as genuine psychics, you guys know when someone's real and someone's not real.
Well, there's another thing. Psychic self-testing. I have a friend, he's a psychic, Jesse Bravo. He's a nice guy. Jesse Bravo. I mean, honestly, I don't know how great of a psychic he is. He is a very nice guy, and I like him. Okay? I've been to his little things that he does.
He does bullet reading.
Yeah, I mean,
bullet reading.
You know, but they actually tested him, and they made him look at the fool. And the truth is, the man is not a fool. He's a smart guy. He's decent at what he does, and they just on television they set him up to make him look bad. You know, what happened? They mocked him. You know, it was ridiculous. And I'll use like a John. I know back in the day he was tested, and he was tested by one person, he tested off the chart, and then he was tested by another person, and he said, this guy is psychic. So, I mean, it depends on, there's a middle ground. You know?
I tried to use those cards that they test to us. I got them all wrong, and yet I've been reading for my entire life. I never had
There's a difference between Dr. Ryan's ESP testing, which was the line in the square, the circle, and but that was Dr. Ryan's ESP, and ESP meant that was literally mind reading. That someone would look at a card in one room, and the other person would have to register what they were seeing, which is different from getting in touch with spirit. Totally different. Never had a great question. Never said, what is bullet reading? And Joyce, you want to take that and explain what bullet reading is?
Bullet reading. But you know what? I have such a big skills of innocence myself that Jack had to explain to me when I did see a phony bullet reader, I said, oh, Jack, it was so fantastic. He said, I can't believe you thought that was good. I said, well, he said, don't you realize Jack, you have to explain it. He was reading the following card, or like, I don't know how I can explain it, but I said, how does he know this? I can't do this. You know, the consistency and the total accuracy of the way he's doing it. He was reading the following one. It wasn't the one he was reading. Like he was throwing away and then reading, like he was one off. So it was actually, did I get that right, Jack?
You know, I think he started, calling the process, particularly the first one. That's when the ability actually had. With someone in the audience, and then we started with pick up on other people.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember. Did you ever watch the Johnny Carson show years ago when it was Johnny Carson?
But you heard
that they would put the hat on with this
exactly, the great Carsoni. He put the envelope to his head, and he came up with an answer and then read it. That's sort of like celebrating. That's a way
I'm not sure he had it either when we were
here. What Jack said, Jack explained about bullet reading. Were you able to hear him?
Not really.
He has to be on mic. He has to be on mic. We can't hear him.
Before we go on, Victor, did you see what was just written in our little private chat? Would you like to announce that?
It says, Chris, your picture's a lot better today.
No, on top of it.
Oh, right. Take two, which is Tesla Wolf Media says, Second Sight has now passed ground zero. The nationally syndicated show. Great job. Thank you, Larry Overman. Thank you, Larry.
This is our first night. You realize where we're going with this? You realize that this is the first step to
Chris, you went to hell in the bucket? Is that what you're going at?
We can go to hell to have a good time, but we're going up, man. We're going way up.
You had a question before that book, and because Jack's mic wasn't on, he wasn't able. He gave a whole explanation of why I didn't realize it was fraudulent. Because the first one was done by an assistant, and after that, it was like he read the following one. It was like another sequence, and it seemed so impressive. But also when the psychic is either blindfolded or doesn't have the ability to see what's on the questions or the person's name or anything, and they answer the question anyway. They say, you have such and such a spirit. And each time the person's asking another name Phyllis, he says, I have Phyllis here. And God, it was mind-blowing.
Right.
That's what Jack explained.
Yeah, but bill reading basically is someone writes a question on a piece of paper, and he seals the paper and puts it in an envelope. And then this is usually done by a person called the mentalist. The mentalist is like the great Kreskin. He's not a psychic, he's a magician. And he's a mentalist in the sense that he has a way of doing things. Yeah, that's Chris and I in the bathtub over there. So for those of you who tuned in wanting to see Chris and I nude, you just got your opportunity. That's the only time it goes. Getting back to that, so they would take the question and they'd hold the question to their head where they couldn't see it, but they actually have the ability to read the question using trickery. So it's nothing psychic. Okay. It's strictly a magic trick.
Okay.
Oh, but no, I think Jane was billet reading, though. Some of it is real. The medium is really good. I have at Silver Bell, and we talked about Silver Bell, I think, previously, but it was no cancer Silver Bell. It's out of existence now, but it was an effort of PA, and a lot of it was genuine billet reading. I did actually see it. I saw a lot of miraculous things occur that had no real explanation. So there are so many things that are hard to explain. Most of them are fraudulent explained.
But the Joyce's point, billet reading really became popular in what's known as the spiritualist church movement. And the spiritualist church movement started in England in the late 1800s, spread over to the United States in the early 1900s. And it was something that people in high social standing would have a mentalist or spiritualist come to their home and do billet reading, things of that nature, and seances. So it's an ancient art, but like Joyce said, there are a lot of things.
Mostly fraudulent.
You were saying this, but you were talking about Jesse Bravo, and I said Jesse's a funny one. I met Jesse because he runs a thing called Seance in the City. Now, Jesse,
I've attended also.
Okay, we talked about this on your show, and I remember going there, and there was maybe 20 people. There was really like their turnout, and I remember thinking, this is an affair. What I thought it was, in my opinion, was like a spirit service. Everybody giving each other a reading, like, oh, I'm getting this, and I'm getting that. That's not a seance. You know, I was expecting, the medium, who happened to be Jesse, to go into trance and channel spirit, because that's what a seance is. And I'm not going to do that. Why didn't he do it, Chris? But he never does. But the thing is, he can't do it then. Well, I don't think he can, but the thing is, he was giving nice messages. He was giving good messages, but it wasn't a seance. A seance is when you go into trance and you become spirit. Whatever spirit is coming to you actually become that spirit. So, the people who do, these different things, like different meetups or whatever, if you're going to go to a seance, if the medium is not going into trance and channeling the seance for seance, what it is a spirit circle.
Oh, that's a good explanation, really. But I think that he's a good psychic, though. He's a good medium.
Yes, I agree with that.
Because I think he called it seance in the city because, like Sex in the City, marketing and media, it's a very catchy expression. Well, I actually think if you look at any of his postings for that, he says a message exchange.
So that's what it was. I thought it was very good. Yeah. But if people go to something like that and expecting it to be like a true seance, it's not. But it is really good.
I'm trying to find. No, this guy, I probably do. I'm not thinking that who he is.
I know Jesse about 6 years. He's a very nice guy. Like Chris said, he's a gentleman. I've actually been running the investigations with him in Brooklyn, and he's very sharp. He's actually a stockbroker. I don't know if you know that, Chris. He's actually a stockbroker. Every stock he's ever given me is going up, so I have nothing bad to say.
That's terrific. That's great.
Economic, not psychic sources, but economic sources say the next couple of years are going to be really good. Start watching things in 2017 and 2018. That's what the economists say.
2018?
2017, 2018. Economists say the next grand cycle turnaround is going to happen. So.
Okay, in the meantime, do you see that the country is in an economic decline? Or
not at all. I think things are good right now. Yeah, really good right now.
I think they're as good as they've been in quite a long time. Yeah. Well, let's get back to the next question. I want to know, can people here in the physical world communicate with those in the spirit world?
Can people here, and because a lot of what you're saying is very hard to hear, can the people on the physical plane here on the earth communicate with those who are passed on?
Yes, yeah.
Sure. Can they do it themselves? Right, they should get my book. 767. Tonight I decided to plug myself.
Well, that's you know. Listen, I don't plug too many books. Joyce's 7 Steps to Heaven is, in my opinion, is one of the Bible. If you're a skeptic, I'm serious. Listen, I love that book. It's an amazing book. The only other book I really say about is Sylvia Vaughan's book called You and I Can't Have Sylvia Vaughan. But she has a book called Communicating with Angels, Reporting with Angels. Absolutely phenomenal book.
Yeah, thank you. My book's Clairaudient. And I'm coming out with my second Clairaudient book. And also, I have a deadline this coming month. I'm happy the book is finished. It's good enough for me. I'll send it off to the press, and they'll send me the rest of what they owe me. So she looked at it. She said, no, this is not good enough to send them. And so she said, let me have it for a week. So that's it. That's where my book is now. It's being beaten up by my daughter, who's moving everything around and improving it.
And speaking of books, I just want to say congratulations. We are on DTN Liquid Radio, and Benny Gaynor, who is our network engineer supreme on DTN Liquid Radio, is also the author of Billy Rabbit Saves Christmas, which debuted at #1 on Amazon.com in children's books, written by Denny, illustrated by our friend Denny. Denny and Annette, congratulations, guys. Congratulations. That's so great.
I have a prediction. Right, I have a prediction coming on. Chris is going to write a book.
I've been writing for a long time.
Where is that freaking book? Come on, man.
What are you doing here, Victor?
Just saying, I'm doing my prediction over here. Are you both? Chris, we're going to be doing mutual book signings in 2015. I'm telling you right now.
This is like the prediction you can buy me.
I love it. I love the prediction.
We're actually coming down to 2 minutes to the hour. So why don't we start wrapping this hour up? Actually, we're down to 1 minute to the hour. So why don't we start wrapping this hour up? Let's see. Joyce, why don't you tell our listeners where they can get your books and find out more about your work and what you're doing and get a hold of you?
You're too good to me, Victor. I'm on the web. JoyceKeller.com. It's JOYC Keller, KELLER.com. That's right. I'm easy to find.
And how do we find your books?
Well, they're in stores. There are no more bookstores. If you find a bookstore, I actually saw a bookstore last week, and it's very rare occurrence, but they're in the bookstores, or the bookstore will get it for you, plus of course it's on Amazon, or I think there's some that are available through my website, but that's like a lot of work. So I would say go directly to Amazon. Don't bother looking for a bookstore. Why are bookstores gone? I used to go and they drink coffee.
Because people don't support them anymore, and we're advocates. Support your local bookstore. Chris and I both say, what do you want to say? I want Joyce Keller's books, and if you don't have them, get them for me. And we get the radio and also on Tesla Wolf Media. And Larry says to use TeslaWolfMedia.com/Paranoia TV. Oh boy, we're paranoid. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Second Sight Radio on the DTN WickedRadio.com and video simulcast on TeslaWolfMedia.com. I'm going to have to get more breath, Chris, because I'm losing my breath. Paranoia TV. It's 9 o'clock, and we will be back in the next hour.
This is fantastic.
You know what? We're all great. I'm going to send it to you, Victor.
It's a far reach, and irony makes it is yesterday's. It's so easy never to forget. Believing lies and reservations pushed us far apart. Am I alone? Am I alone? Every day finishing another dimmed piece of my own. 4 years to keep coming back to me. Never thought we could lose so much. Wanting more when nothing changes. That held us far apart. Am I alone? Am I alone? Every day furnishing another dimmed piece of my heart. Dreaming of whispers ring, heavens and mirrors of someone else's reflection, ascending through another downward view. Am I alone? Am I alone? Do you hear what I'm calling out to you tonight? Am I alone? Am I alone? Every day furnishing another dimmed piece of my heart. Am I
The paranormal,
Ghosts,
spirits,
demons,
reincarnation,
past lives,
the afterlife,
divination,
exorcisms,
witchcraft.
the unseen.
He's psychic medium Chris George.
And he's Victor the Voice Furman.
We are Second Sight Radio.
Paranormal,
Ghosts,
spirits,
wildfire burning out of control moon, and of course we are interviewing the amazing Joyce Keller. It's been an amazing first hour, guys. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. Every time we get together, it's absolutely off the hook, and this is no different.
We're getting feedback. We're getting feedback on somebody's line, so somebody has to mute. Penny, maybe you need to mute.
Somebody needs to mute.
Somebody needs to mute. Feedback.
There we go.
That's it.
All right. So now, the Church of Second Sight. The Church of Second Sight, for those of you who don't know, on the new network is usually when I come on and I give a rant about something that's pissing me off or whatever. But you know what? I'm not going to do it tonight. Tonight, it's all about Victor the Voice Furman. And Victor, what is your Church of Second Sight tonight?
Chris, I have two, actually. The first one's very simple. I think this world needs to readjust what it pays its attention to, and what interests it, and what really matters in this world. Because when millions of people start talking about Kim Kardashian's behind, when there are people dying around the world, when there are so many difficulties in this world, I think there's an imbalance as to what people are paying attention to. Maybe people are afraid to deal with reality, and they'd rather deal with stars and their peccadillos. But that's my first church of Second Sight. Pay attention, people. There's a lot of bad things happening in this world, and if we don't wake up and get started soon, we're going to have a lot more to worry about than Kim Kardashian's ass, I'll tell you.
And that is to block out the sun, so...
That's right, absolutely.
There's some rear end, though. I mean, I have to say I'm impressed.
Well, whether it's, you know what, God bless her, but that's not the important thing in this project. You know, there's a lot more important things to do. Yeah, my church is Second Sight. I happen to be a very, very environmentally minded man. So is my wife. Our family is environmentally minded. Whenever we're in the forest, we get out of the car and we hug trees. We really care about Mother Earth, and I'm serious about this. I love nature. We're also very meticulous recyclers. And in New York City, the law mandates that you have to recycle glass, metal, and paper. Okay? And you have to do it in separate bags. One bag for glass and metal and cardboard containers, for example, milk cartons and such, and the other one for paper, clean paper or paper that can be recycled. I'm very meticulous about this. My wife is very meticulous about it. The other day we put on Tuesday morning is when the sanitation comes and takes away the recycling. The Department of Sanitation in New York, a very wonderful organization, guys who work very hard in all kinds of weather and take our trash away. Well, unbeknownst to us, that morning there was a windstorm, and the windstorm knocked over virtually everybody's can on this block. And then, like good citizens, we went back out, we picked up, and we put stuff in the cans. But it was early in the morning. Sometimes you can't see what you're doing early in the morning. Unbeknownst to us, a half an hour later, every person on my block received one of these. So, it's a garbage ticket. This is a sanitation ticket for $25. It's a fine. It's like getting a parking ticket, but it's for garbage. And it says, at the location I did observe glass bottles, metal cans, plastic bottles, mixed with unsoiled paper and cardboard in plastic cans in the same can.
Unbelievable.
Now, if we had left them on the street, if we had left them laying there all over the place because the wind blew them over, we would never have gotten these tickets. But being civil-minded citizens, we picked them up, and, you know, in the early hours, it's dark outside, you can't see what's going on. There's very poor lighting on the street. Okay, we made the effort to make it presentable, to make it right. Mm-hmm. But the city of New York, under the new mayor, who I don't care for, needs money. And guess how they raise money? By giving tickets to good, conscientious citizens. Well, it gives me the opportunity to go down and defend myself. I can go down and I can bring pictures and I can argue, and it takes 6 hours. I don't have 6 hours of my workday to give up for $25. It cost me a lot more than that if I went down and bought it. So I'm going to pay this ticket. But I'm also sending a copy of this ticket with a letter to the governor of New York, the mayor of New York, my senator, my congressman, my local state senator, and my city council person. And each one of them is going to get a letter saying, what kind of crap is this? And that's my church of Second Sight.
I can give them double up. What do you think?
You know what, Chris? But don't put them in the same can, Chris, because you'll get a ticket. Don't put them in any can, Chris.
Seriously, all those letters and everything, does that help at all?
You know what, Joyce, whether it helps or not, it'll assuage my anger. Exactly, it will assuage my anger, absolutely.
But anything that's effective that we can do, that we know we haven't.
Yeah, vote the jerks out of office next election, that's all.
That's right.
Voting effective. Okay.
That was a very good second stage, Mr. Franklin. Let me get back to our questions, and I want to know. And this isn't my question. This was actually sent to me on Facebook. How can I get to know my spirit guide? I'll give you the quick answer. It's always through meditation, as far as I'm concerned. George, what would your answer be to that?
That's in my book, 7 Steps to Heaven, also calling angels. It addresses that right off the bat. It's exactly what you said, meditation. You sit quietly. Also, before you go to sleep at night, they have an obligation in the non-physical side to respond to our requests. We're asking, and they grow through serving and working with us we ask a simple question: who are you? Can I have a name? Can I have something? A lot of times they don't have names. They're angelic, pure energy. So that's what they're called. But for the ones who have names, who are working with us, like a doctor, teacher, or whatever, you can get some ID. I've had phenomenal experiences where they have responded to that request. And you have new ones coming in all the time. Old ones going, they come, they go, and with our progress and our growth, and I do agree with that. So I've had incredible experiences. So that's something we all can do.
Absolutely. I want to give a quick shout-out to South Canadian. I know you're listening and watching, so I hope you think they're doing a good job. But how do you think about that? What's a good way to connect with your spirit guides?
I like what both of you said. I just know that there's a lot of people out there that have been trying and trying and trying, and they feel like they don't get anywhere. And so I kind of, what Joyce said about that sleep state, right before you fall asleep, it's like something happens there. It's so magical. And sometimes what you can't accomplish in meditation happens very naturally in that in-between state. So, if you're not getting anywhere with the meditation, give yourself some extra room to just relax before you actually go to bed, and just relax and try not to think about it and let them come to you.
Can I just add something? I'm sorry, Victor.
No! It's okay. No, not at all. Joyce, you go ahead, and I'll do my
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think a lot of times you have to have a notebook and a pen by your bed. And I thought, I knew a lot about spirit teachers out there, and who's doing what and all that, because I've been doing it so long. But one night, I had this experience where I had an out-of-body, about 2 years ago. I actually went out-of-body, and I went to the astral state, I believe, was Tibet. I'm going to say that's where I went. It was like the astral to Tibet, you can imagine that. And I had an audience with a monk whom I had never heard of, whose name was saying Lampa, LOBSANG-RANPA. And I was not familiar with this at all. But he was incredible, and he said, a lot of what he said I didn't remember. A lot of what happened, but he was gracious enough, as I was coming back into the awake state, he said, I'll spell my name until you get it right. And because I had notebook by my bed, I wrote it down, LOBSANG. I actually misspelled it. I put an H there, and the second name is RANPA. And I said, it took me like 3 or 4 times of spelling it for me. And, the physical is so dense, I think for me and for a lot of us. But eventually I got it right, and I said, who is this? And I went to the website of Lobsang Lampa, without the H, Lobsang, second name Lampa. And there are thousands and thousands of people who are part of his website, and he has written 1 million books. And just about anything you want to know is in there. And he was a great master teacher. And I said, I can't believe all these years, I've been doing this work so long, I didn't know who this was. So now he works with me a lot. And his presence, the more you work with these teachers, the stronger, the more pronounced their work is with you. But he was so gracious and spelling it until I got it right. Now, who can remember a name like that? Well, I'm saying that, but I would not have brought it back to the physical unless he carefully spelled it out. But even had experiences like that, and if you ask, the point is that if you ask with enough faith and desire, eventually they will do something. They'll throw you a bone from time to time. And
my little follow-up about people trying to get in touch with their guides or whatever form of information that they're looking for, pardon me, is to listen. Most people don't listen.
Yeah, really.
A lot of times that information is right there. Excuse me, I have a little bit of cold here.
I can get that call.
A lot of people, I called it from you, Joyce, just now over the Skype.
Probably.
But what happens is, the old expression is we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, listen twice and speak once. And the type of information that we're talking about doesn't come in Technicolor images for most people, doesn't come in loud speaker-projected voices or microphone-projected voices for most people. It comes in subtle, soft messages. And a lot of times it comes in your own voice. So when you hear this, pay attention. Don't question, just listen. Listen. And then, when you think you've got something, start asking questions and wait for answers. And that's the way you start communicating.
I have one other story about Lopsang Rampa, if I may share very quickly with you.
Absolutely.
I asked him to take away some. Jack and I are experiencing a lot of financial pressure, as a lot of people are recently, and a lot of financial difficulties in our country. And I asked him before I went to sleep, I said, you have to give me a clue. When are you going to take some of this financial burden away? When are you going to improve things? This is like about more than a year ago. So he came to me and he said, this is a difficult question to tell you. And he was sort of joking about it. He said, the best I could do is September, like a little breakthrough, which was like about a month or so ago. And we've had some little breakthroughs, but it hasn't been enough. So they will answer you, and it'll be in keeping with your karmic restrictions or whatever your belief system is. That's all I wanted to share. So he's trying, but it's difficult. And that's all I can say about that. So you can say, well, why aren't they doing more? Because certain restrictions that they just can't open the floodgates of money just because I want it. So I need to know.
That's a good point.
Right. He's not doing it. They're not doing it. They gave us they threw us a few financial loans, which I appreciate.
Joyce, can you tell us why you think meditation is important?
Meditation is a key as a gateway to higher understanding. Moves the physical mind out of the way and it connects us. And you all agree?
Oh my God, 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll share a quick story. One of my mentors is a singing barber. She's a music therapist. And years ago, and she was a real tough New York lady, and I'm going to do my best barber impersonation. I remember her telling me, she says, Chris, I think you're better than your cousin. But you're lazy. You're freaking lazy. And you're lazy. I'm very well. But it's why she said everything. I said, what do you mean I'm lazy? She said, because you don't meditate. You could be over here, but you could be over here if you don't meditate. Everything starts with meditation, you dumb bastard. That's what spoke to me. I just like to talk. I said, meditation is for those, the airy-fairy people, my head is in the clouds. This is what I thought back then. And she says, you dumb bastard. It's not for the airy-fairy. You gotta meditate. I don't call you a dumb bastard. Oh, all the time. Like she was cracking in the back of the head. But what happened was I started to meditate and I couldn't do it at first. And it took me about a month. Maybe a month to where I got comfortable actually meditating. I taught myself how to do it. And I have to say, she was 100% right, because as soon as I started meditating, more gifts came to me. Spirit came to me and taught me how to channel. Spirit taught me how to ground myself. It started teaching me things and giving me these gifts that I use every day of my life now, being a psychic medium. And I know without any question, there's no way I would be doing what I'm doing today unless I started meditating when she told me that I should. Everything starts with meditation.
What do you think it is for those folks who want to know really how to begin? What would you suggest to them?
How to begin? I'll tell you right this. But what I like to do is I like to first of all sit in a chair that isn't too comfortable. You don't want to be lying down. You don't want to be too comfortable. Because what happens is you fall asleep. Okay? You don't want anybody falling asleep because then you're not meditating. What you're doing is snoring. Right? It's sleeping. What you want to do is sit in like a kitchen chair, like I'm sitting in now with a straight up back. You want to keep your feet, flat to the ground, your palms of your hands on your legs. You want to keep it open. Everything open, nothing crossed, nothing closed off. I personally prefer no crossing. I personally prefer no shoes. I really want to connect. I think it's very important to imagine your feet with roots connecting to the earth. Okay? I think it's important before you start to clear all negativity, starting with your crown chakra and working your way down and push it out into the earth, and then bring positive energy from the earth up back into your body. Okay? Let me just finish with that. And I think it's real important to focus, okay? How do you focus? What I like to do is I put the candle, put it about 5 feet away, 3, 5, 8 feet, whatever you're comfortable with, okay? And don't ever close your eyes because then you will fall asleep. Sprint, experience that candle. and watch it dance around and see the energy and just connect with the way the plane is moving and lose yourself in that. Okay? A problem that most people have with meditating is that they can't clear their mind. I tell people, imagine your mind as a blackboard with writing all over it, and then visualize yourself with a big sponge, dipping it in a bucket of water, and wiping that blackboard clean. Now, there it is, simple as. It's a great technique, because what happens is, now that the blackboard is clean and wet, you can't write on it anymore. Okay? So these are all starting points for meditation. Okay? Vic, you want to add anything, or would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, you go first, and then I'll tell you my story about meditation.
Oh, I just think that was great. I mean, what a great way to do it. You let that blackboard dry for a minute.
Love it.
I do too. That was a good one. I like that example. And I think you were right about what people said with the meditation. You mentioned maybe in the beginning you don't make times where you thought it was silly. I think a lot of people do that. They chalk it off as, conversation, first of all, with yourself is kind of ridiculous. Well, that's the gateway. So, yeah.
I love it.
Big as it.
I just open your eyes all the way, like.
Yeah.
If you squint and watch that flame, listen, you get lost in that flame. The flame does funny things. And you see energy coming with that flame. You start to see sparks and rays and different things and things inside the flame. And you get lost in it. And it really helps you to stay focused. And then what happens is when you're really good at it, you start having out-of-body experiences. And that's when you take the meditation to the next level. And that's when you want to get with meditation. It's not easy to do. I mean, it's easy for some people than others. But it's something you should strive for. To get to that point where you can have out-of-body. And it's amazing the things that come in when that starts to happen. Go ahead, Victor.
Chris, I think I've been meditating since I was probably 11 years old consciously, and probably a lot long before that without thinking about doing it. And on its simplest level, and I mean simple because people have a tendency to hear about the meditation and think it's difficult to do. Actually, everyone has meditated at one time or another, and you did it unconsciously. If you've ever been get into a car and drive, and I'm not advocating meditating while driving, but if you ever get into a car and drive, and you all of a sudden arrive at your exit on the highway, and you don't remember getting there, you actually meditated. If you're immersed in an activity that is so pleasurable to you that all you think about is the activity, be it cooking, be it reading a book, whatever it is, to the exclusion of every other thought except what you're focused on at that time, that's meditation. And meditation, in terms of the practice, can be as easy as, and the first meditation I learned was to follow my breath. Just listen to the sound of your breath, inhaling and exhaling. Start with 5 minutes. Sit in a comfortable position. Try not to let yourself slouch. Try to keep your legs uncrossed and your feet flat on the floor because you want to remain grounded. And then just close. I disagree, Chris, about the eyes. I think in the beginning it's important that people close their eyes. You're not going to fall asleep if you're sitting down. If you're laying down, you will fall asleep. If you're sitting down, close your eyes. You don't have to hold them tight. And just take a few minutes and follow the cycle of breath. Inhalation, take a deep breath. Exhalation slowly. Inhale slowly. Exhale twice as long as you inhale. And if you follow that practice for 5 minutes every day for a week, it's going to change your life. And then you can start going into guided meditation, into using some type of an object, like you said, a candle is a very good thing to do. Zen meditation, Zazen, sitting meditation, is one of the most difficult forms of meditation there is. I've been to many Zendos, and quite frankly, unless you have the ability to sit there with your legs underneath you, which I can't do. And then Zazen also involves not closing your eyes, but squinting, as you said, Chris, and then sort of focusing on the floor, in front of you. That's very, very difficult practice. And when you actually get in Zen and practice Zen and want to become ordained in Zen, so to speak, they actually beat you up. They right? They came you up. But basic meditation, and the one thing I will suggest to people is that find a local meditation group where they teach beginner meditation, and find a good teacher who will be a general guide for you. I used to teach meditation classes, maybe one of these days I'll start again, but I used to hold the thing called Sunday Morning Serenity at a yoga studio where people would come in. I'd been this community service so that anyone could come in, and I would have 15 to 20 people sitting there, and I'd teach them how to meditate, and they loved it. And that's all it starts. Just follow that breath. Start with your breath.
Can I share a story with you guys?
Good.
Now, this is a form of meditation, obviously. You know, I like guided meditation, personally. A couple of years back, I was married at the time, and I was doing a lot of work in Manhattan, metaphysical teaching, doing seances, doing healing circles. So I was really with that whole metaphysical style back in the day. And they went up to Woodstock, New York, and there's a Buddhist monastery up there. And they said, Chris, you got to come. We're going to go meditate with the Buddhist monks. And listen to this. I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean the Buddhist monks? What, because I'm fat and I got to be with the Buddhist monks? Yeah. I said, I don't want to go. I said, tell my wife, she's like, you know what, Chris, maybe you need to go. So I said, all right, I'll go. I said, but I'm not going to, this really isn't what I want to do. Anyway, I go through it back maybe 10 of us. It was a great time. But what happened was, the way they meditated, they sit, with their legs crossed and sitting off. And at the time, I was a fat bastard. I can't sit too long like that. My back was hurting. I was getting sciatic. It was horrible. I'm stretching this way. I'm stretching that way. I couldn't concentrate. I'm thinking to myself, speak the worst freaking thing in the world. How can anybody do it? All right? So I'm thinking to myself, I got to get out of here. But what happens is, you ready for this? I'm sitting there, a little uncomfortable. I said to myself, you know what? Let me try and make the best of it. So I put my leg down. I didn't give a damn if I was going to close up like a big fat Buddha. I was a big fat Buddha with my legs open, all right? And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I started concentrating on this one statue. And what happened was, you can probably think I'm crazy, and that's fine. I see this golden veil come out of this statue, and it come up on me, and it came straight to me and hit me right here in my third eye. And I said, what the F was that? Okay? Too serious. It's better. So the meditation is over, and I don't tell anybody about this. They already think I'm a freak to get people. So I don't want them to let them know that I hit the third eye with a gold in my ball. So we're going we have to learn to we're supposed to go for a second meditation. I say to myself, there's no freaking way I'm going there. There's no way I'm putting myself in that torture again. So it was like, maybe we go like 100 degrees out. I go to my car, I take my AC, and I was in the car. I missed the meditation. All of a sudden, I'm in the car, and I say to myself, you know what? Again, Chris, make the best of it. So I start meditating myself in the car. And all of a sudden, I hear, Chris, come and find me. I'm like, what? Chris, come and find me. I'm here. I'm like, what do you mean here? Who are you? So I get out of my car, and they say, follow my voice. It's a true story. When I had my television show, I told the story. So I start following this voice, and really when Woodstock, there was monastery, there was huge mountains all around it. And I hear, I'm up here, and I'm hearing this voice in my head. And you have to understand, I talk to dead people, and I'm thinking this is freaky, okay? I have these $150 Italian leather sandals on, okay? You're not supposed to go hiking in sandals. I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to go up this freaking mountain? So I start, my big fat ass, I start climbing up this mountain, and I hear things, you're getting closer, and I'm like, what am I getting closer to? And therefore, I get to the street, I lean on, I'm out of breath because I'm fat, and I'm just like, leaning up against this tree, and I hear him say, look down. I look down, and what do I see? I see a rock about that big, those of you watching on Tesla, and it had this writing on it. I picked it up, and I said, are you the one talking to me? No, I'm the one talking to a rock. The rock says, yeah. I said, well, who are you? And he said, the rock tells you, you have to name me. And I firmly believe this is what happens because I hit with the ball in the third eye. All right? People are watching the show, they're saying the psychic news is just, see a freaking crazy guy. But this is exactly what happens, Victor. And now with this rock, what happened was, it told me, hold it in your hand. So I held it in my hand back there, and it took me on a journey. It took me on, I don't want to tell you guys where it took me, okay, but it took me somewhere, and it showed me things that I really needed to see. And I was blown away by it. I still have this today, okay? My ex-wife, my wife at the time, made this little bed for me to put it in, and I, a lot of times I would stay out and stuff, I bring it out. But it actually took me on a journey, and many people that I was given to them heard the same thing happen to them. I don't know why. I don't know how. But that's exactly what happened. I actually named the rock life. Victor, tell me I'm not crazy.
You're not crazy. What you had is known as a shaman's journey. You had a shaman. That's exactly what a shaman does. A shaman connects with nature on that specific level. And you had a beautiful experience, and it's wonderful. I just want to know why it is that whenever you're around Asian people, you get hit in the face with balls. That's what I want to find out, Chris.
That's not funny, Victor. That's not funny.
For those who have never heard the story, Chris was actually banned from Bally's because he complained about an Asian man exposing his testicles in Chris's face in the sweat, what do you call it? In the steam room, yeah.
That little Asian man that was very close to taking a beating. Anyway, really, you had a follow-up?
I think you more than covered
I just want to say one thing about meditation. You know, meditation, people think, am I doing it right? There is no right or wrong with meditations because there's so many variations. And what works for you is what's right for you. And if 5 minutes a day just listening to your breath is great, that's wonderful. If chanting something, a lot of people use what I know as mantra, chant a mantra. For example, Om is the most famous mantra. Om is the most famous one. There's many different mantras. Those are wonderful methods of meditation. There's meditation using what's known as yantra, which are designs and shapes. So you look at a design or shape and you get lost in the design or the shape, and it takes you away into the land of meditation. So there's so many different forms, and whatever works for you, but do a practice. Start tomorrow, 5 minutes in the morning. Do it when you wake up and you spend 5 minutes following your breath. Do that every morning, and it will change your life.
Yes, and let me just say real quick, if that's all right, what Chris is saying too. They're right, Vic is right, Chris is right. You never know what's going to come through with your meditations. Don't discount anything. You know, if Chris would have discounted what he had heard and not gone to the rock, he wouldn't have seen. Sometimes when we go into meditations, you learn things you didn't even know before without having a teacher. There's been times I've gone into meditations and my hands have been moved for me. I haven't practiced mantras or mudras, and in the last 2 years alone, I've been given numerous mudras. Some I haven't even been able to find, yet they are working for me, and there's something is happening. So document and keep at it, and wait for the little jewels that come through.
Whatever, on that note, why don't you take question number 8?
I just want to say,
I'm sorry.
The listener's spirit means Victor's hands. You got to pick it for lead conduct.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Joyce, everybody here, how do I figure out the name of my spirit guide? We kind of covered that, didn't we?
Yeah, we kind of did.
8 is kind of done, I think. So let's go to 9. All right. What about, let's talk about heaven and hell. What are your thoughts on heaven and hell? Ooh. Anybody?
Joyce, with us?
Yeah, I am, but I don't have the light on my computer. I don't know what happened. So I'm here.
You have to turn your camera back on, Joyce. Click on the little camera icon on the bottom so you can see your beautiful.
Tell me how to do it.
If you bring your cursor down, and as you bring it, you got it.
Okay. Okay, well, such a good question. I have a question for all of you. Every time you see a rock band or a lot of stars, you see them making fun of the devil, which I don't want to do because I don't want to be a part of it. But there's that very significant hand gesture, which we all know. Do you know what I'm talking about or not? Do I have to show you? You know what I'm talking about, right? Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay. And it's so common. I'm just wondering, does it really signify what it says on the web? Now, you can look this up yourself. You can look at satanic hand signals. If you go to the web, you'll see what I'm talking about. You see so many rock stars doing this. There's so many people like, I'm not going to mention that. I'm not going to give credibility to it. They come out to do a talk show or television or to make an appearance. They do that satanic tools first. I'm just wondering what you all think about that. Is it powerful? Is it correct? What do you think, Chris?
I have no idea. But maybe you have an idea.
The heavy metal stars all do this. And, their reference is that it's the horns of Satan. And basically that's what the image they're trying to project, because they're bad boys. And they're nasty, and this, that, and they want to create that aura, that energy. In actuality, isn't this called the Gnoots, Chris? Isn't this the Gnoots?
It's called the Malofium.
The Malofium, right. The evil fingers, right? The curse.
The Malofium, which means evil eyes. But the other thing that it symbolizes that it's the son of the Lamia, which is one of the most evil demons that's known. So that's another thing to think of.
And for those watching on Wolf Media, it's also this. Hi, how are you? I'm
I just wondering why it's so common, and this is really powerful.
You're a rocker. Come on, River. You're a rocker. Tell us about it.
I never looked at it as the sign of the devil. I just looked at it as cutting loose. Cut loose and have a good time. And so,
I think a lot of people think it's just means to have a good time. I told my children not to do that. I said, I don't care if you're going to a concert. Don't do that. We think it's a cool thing to do. I said, I don't care what you think. Don't do it. All right? Don't do it. I don't want you to do it. And don't do it.
In Hawaii, this is hang 10, which means stay cool, man. Hang 10. Put 10 toes up. Yeah. Hang 10, man.
That's okay.
And then in Brooklyn, of course, in Brooklyn, we have a different salute. And Chris will show you that salute. There you go.
This one.
How about this one, Chris?
There's a whole bunch of them.
That's right. How about this one?
No, we don't want to talk about that. All of us were thrown out of school because of that, doing what you just did with the happened. What? Come on, Victor. I wasn't thrown out of PS-180. Nothing. I
went to PS-180. Oh, my God. We went to the same place. Did you go to Montauk?
No, because I moved before my sister went to Montauk.
Okay.
And she loved it. And she said it was very beautiful.
Just watch this. I'm going to blow Joyce's mind. In our hearts, PS-180 will be there enshrined our alma mater. In our loyalty, raise your voices, sing the homeward loudly. Extol, here's to you, our alma mater. Let the echoes roll. That was the actual school song of PS-180.
That was fantastic. Victor, I have to ask you a question. I want to see how good your memory is. Also, do you remember PS-180? In the auditorium, whose picture was over the stage?
Well,
I don't remember.
George Washington, for heaven's sake, it was George Washington.
You're right. You know something? You're absolutely right. You're right. Now that you say it, I remember. And what was the name of the pizza? What was the name of the pizzeria across the street? What was the name of the place?
There was no pizzeria.
There was a pizzeria on the corner of 55th Street and 15th Avenue.
Got it.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Dominic's Pizzeria. Yeah.
Oh,
and I'm not going to blow everybody's mind. You got 2 slices of pizza and a soft drink for 50 cents. How's that?
Yeah.
I'm 61. I'll be 62 in January.
Okay. So, you beat me. Okay, what were you saying?
I want to know. Let's take the next question, Victor. Number 9.
Number 9. No, we just talked about that, heaven and hell.
Oh, okay. That tells you where my head is. I mean, we're doing the Italian, the horns and this and that and the other thing. You got me all confused. Take the next question.
Well, here's the real question now. Joyce, are there pets on the other side? We all know this.
Yeah, there's, I believe, a universal law that says the animals, if you want to be buried with your animal, that's fine. But I think there's a whole group consciousness of group souls, and when the animals cross over, I don't know how many are in one group soul, but it's not just like without the individual souls. What was the question, Victor? I don't remember. What did you...
Do our animal companions go to the other side?
Sure. I think if you wanted, a lot of people are buried with their animals. You know what's really creepy? There was an animal funeral home on 109 in Babylon. I don't know if any of you remember this place in Farmingdale. It was just strictly for animals. And I worked for a newspaper at the time. I think this would be a great interview. And I called the place, and I made arrangements to go there. It's a television show. I don't know what I was doing. And I had cameras with me. And, when I got there, I couldn't do it. I had to cancel it. It was so traumatizing for me because the energy was so many. I can't answer this question. I found it very, very upsetting. Because I think a lot of animals were struck there or they didn't cross over. This is an animal funeral home on Route 109 in Dublin, and it's still there to this day. And this makes it's really distressing. As animal pounds are, I have to tell you about my cat. May I tell you, since you asked about an animal?
Sure.
When my daughter went off to school, she said, take care of the cat. Don't let anything happen to the cat. And I said, okay. Well, what she failed to mention is that the cat hated us. The cat hated me, and the cat felt abandoned by Lane. The cat felt that something terrible was going to happen. So the cat was very, very hostile toward me and hissed, and when I tried to feed her, she hissed and she made terrible sounds, and she... That's good. The cat was really a vicious beast and tried to attack me and kill me on a number of occasions. So I said to my daughter, I've got an issue with this cat. I don't know what to do. I've got to do something. So she said, well, why don't you take the cat to school or try to you can't train a cat. So I said, you know what, while Elaine is off at school, I'm going to take the cat to a little animal adoption place, which after 10 days, either they kill the animal or they call you and they say, come and get your dog cat. So I said, right, they usually kill the animals, though, I know that. So I put the cat in a very comfortable box with a nice lining, and I put a little blanket in there, and I said, come here. And she said, shh. I said, all right, come over here. Anyway, so I grabbed the cat, threw it in the box, sealed it up, covered the cat, put it in the car, and we're going to go for a nice ride. You all know about taking animals for a ride?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know that. Okay. So we're going along Sunrise Highway, and I'm heading toward the path, and the cat's in there hissing and spitting, and she's having a terrible time. Eventually she goes to sleep. She's nice and quiet. So I'm driving along, thank God I'm getting close to the pound. I'm going to drop off this cat and hopefully never see her again. So nice picture. I round the corner. The cat is sleeping, finally. I round the corner, and I'm getting ready to go down the street where the pound is to drop off the cat. The cat went completely insane. She threw herself out of the box, hissed at me, and basically said, you're not taking me to the pound. She tried to kill me in the car. I said, all right, you win. This is a battle. I have lost, and you have won. So took the cat home. That's the end of my cat story. But she was so psychic that she actually knew, this darn cat, knew that she was going to go to cat heaven very, very soon.
Well, I have a friend who is a cat lover, and she's had in her life, she's in her late 70s, early 80s, and she's had and lost many cats. And every time you sit on her couch, you feel cat spirits rubbing against your legs as if they were alive in there. And every time I sit there, animals love me. I don't know why, they just love me. And these cats in spirit, oh, thank you. And these cats in spirit will just come and brush against my legs. I look down because I think it's her living cats coming over. And I reach over to pet them, and it's these spirit cats that are brushing against me. That's interesting.
And hear them, too, right? You hear them.
Absolutely.
The sounds that they had.
Needless to say, I took the cat home at the end of the story, but she used to walk across the street and hit me from across the street. But I don't know why. I mean, it was not my fault. This whole thing was not my fault. I didn't feel about it.
I don't know if you're aware of it, Joyce, but Chris is a very big cat lover. Did you know that Chris really is a cat lover?
Oh,
I got the feeling he's not.
I'm not a cat lover. You know what it is? I'm a dog person. I find cats to be spooky. I don't like spooky. You know, they all have to play with you. Listen, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just not a huge cat lover. It doesn't mean I don't love animals. I always be nice to them. I always pet them and be nice to them. But I would never have one as a pet.
Chris, here's the answer. Years ago, the ancient Egyptians worshipped cats as gods, and cats will never let us forget that.
Yeah. What about me? Maybe you just haven't met the right spirit cat, you know? Maybe you just haven't melded with the right cat.
Okay,
you know, and there's something about picking the right one.
I like lions, I like tigers, I like those types of cats. I would never be mean to a cat. I would pet them, I would play with them, but I would never have one as a pet.
That's
No, that's it.
because I'd
Yeah.
never forgive you if you were hurting animals. I could.
No, I would never. I love that.
Chris, I'm going to change your mind right now, Chris.
Yeah.
Memories of my days in the sunshine. I can't sing that.
That was good. Very good.
Thank you.
You like it?
Who originally sang that? Barbara Streisand, was it?
That was originally sung by the original boy that played Cats, and I can't remember her name, but she was on, she played the mother on Eight Is Enough, and I can't remember her name, the second mother name.
Jesus. I know you didn't. Forget that. I can't think of that.
Let's move on with the interview. I'll remember in a minute. Actually, why don't we let River take question number 11?
Yeah.
Joyce, please tell us, what is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to psychics?
Oh, fellow psychics, those other people who ask a million questions, that's not a reading. That's my pet peeve. You do a reading, you don't ask questions. That's it. And you just do it, and don't rip people off a lot of money. If they tell you they can't afford a reading because they're out of work, you don't charge them. That's my whole conversation.
That's right.
I've got nothing else to say.
Everybody who listens to the show knows what my pet peeve is. My pet peeve is the theatrics. I don't like the theatrics. I don't like
Wait, I have to give you a message. Wait, here. Sorry, watch this. I'm getting a message. Is that correct?
Yeah. With that, the whole, and then the people who save everybody who comes.
Sage has a purpose, so Sage has a purpose.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But what I'm going to tell you is this. I want you to put yourself in my
before and after.
Listen, you're at an event where you have to read, 15 people, 10-minute reading apiece. Okay? They get 10 of your minutes. Okay? They are paying you X amount of dollars for 10 minutes. And you waste 3 of those minutes and letting them put them, washing them with friggin' Florida water. That would have
Florida water.
7 minutes. Okay?
Something from Shemeo,
That's bullshit, and that bothers me. Okay, Larry?
Yeah, so we host prayer parties here at our house where we have a psychic medium ceremony come over. What she does is she sages before people get here. And that way she's given them 15 minutes and the host dedicated to them for that period of time. She doesn't sage it ahead of time.
But you know what, Chris, honestly, if someone has that as part of their ritual in working with a client, that's their ritual. And you know what? If they're paying by the minute, obviously that's wrong. But if it's part of the ritual, it should be done without the meter running.
Right. But I'm going to say, if that's their ritual, okay, and somebody goes to their home, or they go to somebody's home to give them an hour reading, and they don't want to save them and wipe them down.
I said without the meter running. Do all that stuff without the meter running.
And then give them their reading. But when you're in a big group setting, and you have to read X amount of people in a short period of time, they waste their money and their time by taking 2 or 3 of those minutes away from them. That's all. Especially when somebody's coming and sitting down next with me, and I'm a very fast reader. I read fast. So people are getting 15 minutes worth of a reading with me in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, they're only getting 6 and 7 minutes with somebody else because they got to go through a whole friggin' ritual. That's bullshit, and that's uncalled for. You do that when you have the time for it, not when you're doing big group things. That's my personal opinion.
Absolutely.
That bothers me.
Chris, I have to ask you a question. Before, I'm sorry, you said about washing them down. Tell us more about that part. What's about washing?
I'll tell you, my business psychic here in New York, and
the Florida water, like they're going to...
Well, what he does is, we were doing this big event at the Vanderbilt, and like 400 women, and I did 26 readings that night. You know what I used to do 26 readings? It's crazy. Right?
It's like you die.
And in between every reading, I'm looking over at this guy, first of all, he wore the silk stitch, he's walking like this, and he's just show me out of my mind. He didn't have to do that, and then after every reading, he took Florida water, washed his hands, took Florida water, washed his hair. By the end of the night, he was dripping wet, and his silk shirt had all drip marks on it. I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing yourself? I mean, you think people, buying into that? And you want to know what the shit answer is? Yeah, they bought into it. Because he's a shitty psychic, number one, and number two, he charges 3 times what I charge and gets it. So maybe I should start.
Chris, that was inappropriate in his work, but there are shamans who do wonderful work who use Florida water as part of their work.
Listen, I use Florida water as well.
Florida water.
They kind of water that less.
You know, I was creating sacred space. I absolutely use it. But the point here is, why take away from somebody's reading by doing your ritual when you're in that type of atmosphere? You understand?
Without the meter run.
Time and place for it, right?
Exactly.
Listen, we're coming up at about 5 minutes to the hour, and I don't want to run out of time without making a couple of announcements. So we'll do those announcements, then we'll continue. Number one, we want to say that this is our 100th show together, Chris and I, and we're grateful to all of our listeners who have been following us and who followed us from our former home to our new wonderful home, BPM Wicked Radio. We love Denny, and we love Tiff, and we love BPM Wicked Radio, and we're grateful to partner with them. To our new partner who's bringing us video, Larry, Take Two Productions and Tesla Wolf Media, /Paranoia TV. Thank you, Larry, for making our faces available to those who have heard our voices before. I don't know whether they're going to thank you or not, but we'll find out as time will tell. I want to say that, for Chris, next week, we have a special show next week. Our guest will be Mr. Thomas Turkey. He's the author of the new paranormal book, Stuffed, Basted, and Roasted, My Life as a Gobble, Gobble, Goblin. Well, actually, it will be Thanksgiving next week, and Chris and I will be with our families. And what we're going to thank you, Joyce. Thank you very much. I wrote that myself. And it took me about 2 hours. No, it took me about 8 seconds. And our actual next week we will have on BTM, and I don't think Larry can simulcast this. It's an old audio show. We will have a Best of Second Sight featuring our great friend, Sorceress Cagliostro, and Al Minion Willing. And the topic is demons. And that was a fabulous show, and you're going to love it. If you have nothing better to do Thanksgiving night, please tune in and hear that Best of Second Sight. Chris,
one of my favorite shows ever. And listen, we've interviewed Sorceress many times. That one show in particular, I absolutely love, because her and Al didn't agree on anything. And that just makes a great radio. So
you have actually 4 different takes on what a demon is in that show. And you know what? Each of us is right. There's nobody wrong. Each of us is right. We all have our own objective and subjective experiences. And if you listen to that show, you'll hear some wonderful stuff. And then our first show in December will be on December 4th, Thursday, December 4th. And our guest will be Debbie Chestnut. And she's the author of the new book, Stalking Shadows, The Most Chilling Experiences of a Paranormal Investigator. That's coming up on Second Sight Radio on December 4th. Debbie Chestnut, author of Stalking Shadows. And tomorrow night, between 10 and midnight, you have the amazing Paranormal Lounge with the amazing River Wildfire Moon, amazing and beautiful, talented and terrific and energetic and spiritual and wonderful River Wildfire Moon. But I run out of adjectives, Chris. And then the wonderful godfather of psychics himself, Chris George. So join them in the Paranormal Lounge. I will be interviewing them tomorrow night. So we invite you to come to the lounge, have 1, 2, or 3 shots, and there'll be a few shots during the show. And sit back, relax, enjoy. Larry will be there with us. We'll all be together. And really enjoy. This is a different type of experience. It's a casual. We do have interviews, but it's more casual, more relaxed, and more of a personality-oriented.
What does that mean? You dumping me?
Well, I'm not. You want to come back tomorrow night? You can come back tomorrow night. You want to come back?
If you want to come, you're always welcome.
You're welcome to come back to the Paranormal. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I
4 glasses. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
You said the guest is Debbie Chestnut?
Debbie Chestnut, that's right.
You know, now I don't know. I know you don't know this, but is she about my age?
I don't know her. I don't know her at all.
Because I spoke with Debbie Chestnut back in the day.
That's going to be an interesting show. That'll be an interesting show.
if this is the same Debbie Chestnut, she'll have nothing but good things to say about me. I'm just saying. But, anyway, so what about we have 2 minutes left?
We have 2 minutes left. I just want to say, Joyce Keller, we love you. And Jack Keller, we love you. We love the Keller.
He's off eating, thank you. He had his meeting for the last hour.
And we love Joyce. Joyce is an amazing and wonderful and warm and loving woman, and we just love her. We love her to pieces. And get her book. What's the book, Joyce? What's your book stand?
I'm working on my 12th book now, so I let's start with Calling All Angels.
Okay.
And 7 steps to heaven, how to communicate with those who love and lost, blah, blah. Who knows the others? I don't care. But thank you, Victor. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, River.
Thank you. How do people find out about you and your work, River?
You can find me on www.riverwildfiremoon.blogspot.com. You can always go to Spirit Lodge. We're at Spirit Lodge for all over. Just look for us, Facebook, and
you can
find us.
Paranormal.
Psychic Medium Chris George. It's Psychic Medium Chris George. Victor the Voice Filming. That's me. Larry, you have anything to say at the end?
Wow, just thanks to everybody for tuning in. Second Sight has an amazing night for viewership, and the growth is just phenomenal, and you guys are amazing, and we love having you here, and partnering up with DTM. Those guys are great as well.
And Denny and Tiff, we love you, we love you, we love you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Thanksgiving if we don't see you tomorrow night at the Paranormal Lounge, and have a great holiday season. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everybody.